Say hello.
Oh, hey,
Hey.
we're started now.
Yeah.
All right, so it's been a long time since we've done one of these. Normally we do them in the car.
Yeah, we did.
All right, so it's me and Chloe. Kyla's in the background.
Making, Kyla, what you making?
Pie.
What
Blueberry
pie?
Blueberry pie.
Yeah.
All right, so what's going on? What's going on?
It's Father's Day.
It's Father's Day. It's Father's Day.
So what's up with pie?
So that's why Kyla's making blueberry pie. She's made cinnamon rolls. You've made cookies.
I did make
Yeah.
cookies, except I ate half of the batter. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're still gonna have some, just not a lot.
So, tell me, what do you want to know? What are the biggest things in life that you want to know?
Want to know?
Doesn't mean I have an answer for you. I'm just saying, what do you want to know?
I don't know the answer to that question, which is kind of ironic, because quite literally, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, there's the known unknowns. And
There are
The
things
known-knowns.
that
The
I'd
blessed
like to be able to further understand people. I like to be able to further understand myself, the meaning of like the general question of life or the meaning of happiness, the pursuit of happiness.
the pursuit of happiness. There's a band called The Pursuit of Happiness. We'll come back to this. This is a side. This is a tangent. There's a band called The Pursuit of Happiness, and I saw them once in concert in Halifax. And one of the guys that was, like, a few of us had gone out. One of the guys, his name was Woody, and he threw a drink on the lead singer, and so he got thrown out by the bouncers. And so we all went out as well. We're like, Woody, why did you throw a drink on him? And he's like, because he just annoyed me. So, yeah. But anyways, that was tangent. So, yeah. I want to know lots of stuff. There's a lot of things in history that I would like to know. Because, there's a lot of history I just don't know. And also, what we know about history is only the things that are written down. There's tons of other history that isn't written down. And then also, what gets written down doesn't mean it was the truth. Like, I remember I had started one of those on Spotify or something like that, this great course of history or something it was called. It was like courses where they took lectures from university.
Yeah.
And the guy says, all right, before we get into this, we have to understand that the bulk majority of history is you were born into poverty. You were lucky if you had a roof over your head. You probably ate lots of grass and other just stuff that was just around. There was probably lots of famine, sickness, disease. You worked all day, every day, and then you died. And that's history in a nutshell. So everything that we actually learn in history classes is less than 1% of history, because it's only, like that percentage of the population that's spoken about when it's talking about politics and leaders and things like that.
There's something that I wanted to mention, which is what I was looking for on my phone just then.
Bring it on.
It was
Boy,
Is it like something really serious? Boy, look. There. Boy, look, what's this? Yeah, no, it's not playing into it. But there's this... I don't remember her name. And for the people watching this, don't come for me. Because I know it's a very obvious name. I know she's killed, like, Queen Mary of Scots. But, like, she killed someone because they saw her without makeup. And I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, some queen, the one who killed Mary of Scots, she killed someone because they saw her without makeup once. I thought that was kind of funny.
That's all the craziness.
Yeah, but like...
But there's just so many people and so many lives that, everybody's got a story. It's so neat to know stories. Why people do the things that they do. And what's their intent? What's their purpose? And yeah, it's interesting. I'd love to know how the world was created. Was it created out of nothing? Was it formed? Was it evolution? Was it all kinds of dust particles that come together and then eventually make rocks and come together and make larger rocks, which make eventually a planet? Or were they pieces that were spit out from the sun, birthed from the sun? I don't know. There's so many ideas. And aliens living among us. Is it happening or not? There was actually something in the global news in Canada last week about how some top scientists at like Harvard and other universities think that there's actually intelligent life that's not human that is living among us.
Like camouflaging, or it depends on what sense that they mean that. Are they like living in Earth? Are they pretending to be humans?
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe you don't know like what you don't know. Like, are ants aware of us?
Ants?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are slugs aware of us?
Well, they're a bit dumber.
Well, yeah, but that's my point. Is maybe we're dumber. Maybe there are life forms that are here, but we just don't recognize them being. We don't recognize
intelligent, yeah. Well, maybe the reason that we don't recognize them as being intelligent is because they're prey. Like ants get killed very easily, and so essentially they are prey to almost every living species out there. Because
who's this again?
ants.
Ants, yeah.
They're prey to almost every living species out there, which is why they're perceived as being unintelligent. Whereas they might be. It's just because
Ants
they're
are
killed
intelligent,
too
man.
early.
They're like, well, maybe they're not intelligent, but how they communicate, we don't really know. But well, maybe we do
But
know, and I just don't know.
Just because they're easier to take out doesn't mean that they're unintelligent.
Yeah, but they're taking over the world.
Ants?
Yeah.
How so?
They're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. They got tunnels everywhere. It's like they're everywhere. Have you ever seen? You should look them up. There's like this one show on Netflix, I think. I think it's on Netflix. It doesn't matter. We're gonna look it up later. But it's all about just ants, different types of ants, and how they do things, and they work as a group, and systematically do stuff, and just they're like, ants are badass. They're taking over the world. You gotta watch out.
Well,
They'll carry you away. They're like the strongest thing that there is. An ant. When you go for like pound for pound, who's the strongest? Ants carry stuff that's like 3, 4 times, 10, yeah, whatever, times their own weight. Nobody else can do that.
8 times their weight.
8 times. Sorry, it was 8. But still, it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Like there are not other species that can't carry more than 8 times their weight?
I don't know, actually.
First off, I think
Probably
some
no, I don't think
humans
so.
can do that. Like, have you seen some of those absolutely insane buff guys? The ones who do like bodybuilding?
Yeah, but let's
As a
say...
species, we're less capable of it, but there are a few.
Yeah, no.
No?
I mean, let's say you got a 100-kilo guy. I mean, okay, there's lots of guys who are bigger than 100 kilos. But let's say 120 kilos. That's massive. Like, that's already big. You go like massive, 130, 140 kilos kind of thing. 10 times their weight? Or 8 times their weight?
10, maybe like
Even 8?
5.
That's ridiculous.
Think they could do
I mean, you
5?
get once in a while these strongman places shows where they, they pull a semi-truck. But still, it's pulling something on wheels. And they're not lifting it. They're definitely not lifting it.
Yeah. Ants have it above their head.
And there's only a few of those people in the world. Like, as a percentage point, hardly much.
Yeah, but there are like some people who have like adrenaline rushes. Like there was this one lady whose kid got stuck under a car, so she lifted the car.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So first of all, I do think ants are taking over. Ants are like badass. But anyways, there's a system, there's a receptor in what are called Golgi tendon organs, which are in the tendons, which the tendon is like the sheath of the muscle that then connects the muscle to the bone. And it's a negative feedback where when they get tripped, they basically cause the muscles to shut off. Right? And so the point being is it's a receptor, so it's like a nerve. Which means ultimately it's really our own nervous system which prevents the muscles from fulfilling their capability. So there's inhibition that occurs to prevent you from doing something. So which is why most of us can't lift a car. But if you've got enough drive and you overcome that mental, you can, well, it's a subconscious thing, you don't think about it, but you can overcome the unconscious with the conscious cognitively when you think about something. And it's absolutely fascinating. Like there's I think I've told you this before, where there's psychiatrists who have recorded people, or at least made records of people who have multiple personality disorder, and their eye color can change. Like if Jim turns into Bob, the brown eyes turn into blue eyes. And if Jim has diabetes, you can measure the diabetes and check out his eye color. But then he turns into Bob. Bob doesn't have diabetes. Same physical person, but different physical expression. So now you measure Bob. Bob doesn't have diabetes, but Bob does have high blood pressure.
Well, physical expression could make, like, doesn't make a lot of sense, but it could happen. But how could physical personality, like, what that disease?
Yeah, that's
how
crazy.
How does that change your biology?
Well, I'm not saying anybody, and it doesn't mean that everybody who has
multiple, but
well, what it demonstrates is the power of the mind, right? Because this person has changed into another person. Right now, that's pathological, but nonetheless, I think it's a demonstration of how powerful the mind can be.
Yeah, but
we don't know how to use it though.
I don't think, like, your mind, even if you're 100% cognitive, can change your instant and output. Because that's what
you think. And that's fair enough. I'm just saying those are recorded cases where it does happen. Now, they don't think I'm going to change my physiology. They think I'm a different completely person. It's pathological. But there's measurable differences in their blood work that you can actually see from one person to the next person, but the same body. So it's interesting because this gets into a little thing called epigenetics, right? Because we think about our genes as being our as who we are, but that's not really true because we have a genotype, but we also have a phenotype. So you've got genes for blue eyes and green eyes and brown eyes, right? But you only express one. That's your phenotype, right? What color hair you have, that's your phenotype. But you have genes for more stuff. So gene expression comes down to what genes do you express, which is dependent on your environment. And the environment is both your external environment and your internal environment. And one of those things that regulates it is your thoughts, your beliefs. So you can change your gene expression. Most of us can't change our eye color or our hair color. But so anyways, those are pathological cases, but I'm just saying that's an example of how powerful the mind really can be. How do we get on that? Ants. Because we're talking about ants.
Yeah, ants.
Ants are crazy. They work together. What else do you want to know?
No. I had a
about
question
life
that
in the world.
actually kind of coincides with what you were just speaking about. Do you think that you can become another person? Like, on the idea of self-identification, do you think that you yourself could one day just decide and be someone completely different? Without it being like a personality switch? Well, yes, it can be considered a personality switch, but without it being an actual disorder. Like, you can choose to be someone else.
No. But having said that, I think you can convince yourself that you've become somebody else. But I don't think you are somebody else. I think you're essentially lying to yourself. Like there's cases where, I'm thinking of one with Jim Carrey, where he was doing a movie and he was playing the role of a comedian, Andy something. And he would go into role and he never came out of role for the whole entire filming of the movie. So if you wanted to speak to him, you basically had to address him as Andy. right? Even though he wasn't Andy, right? So even off set, he was acting like that. And I think that that can have a big effect on you mentally. And I think you can sort of morph into, I think you could kind of morph into the expression of another personality, but I don't think it's real. I don't think it's replacing you or who you are. I think who you are is still in there. It's just you're hiding it. And you might get really good at hiding it if you do it enough times. And you might even convince yourself of something different. But I think who you are is still in there. Yeah. I think I'm going to stick with that answer too.
I think that there are like interesting things that go around that for actors especially,
Mm-hmm.
because it's their job to be somebody else for like the day.
Yeah.
And like they're like for Austin Butler, the guy who played Elvis in
Mm-hmm.
the new movie, not the newest, not the Priscilla movie, in the Elvis movie.
Right.
His voice changed and never went back. He got so used to doing all of the Elvis voice
Yeah.
that he lost his voice, and he like not like he couldn't speak anymore, but he forgot the sound of his own voice and he couldn't replicate it.
Right.
So now he has a completely different tone than before.
Yeah, but I'm not going to argue that. But I still think that that is not necessarily changing who you are. I think that's changing
No,
a
it's-
physical component based on what you've practiced, what you've learned. Maybe it's changed his vocal cords somehow. Maybe it's something. But who he is as a person, mentally.
No, not like
That's
just
different.
specifically who he is like as a whole, but there were things that resonate.
Right.
Like also considering that like he used, but still on the Austin Butler topic, from at least what I've seen on TikTok, it might be all a lie, but there are videos in comparison of like little tics that Elvis used to do
Mm-hmm.
that Butler had to like study to try and replicate him perfectly, because there was a lot of pressure on this movie to be accurate. So he would like study all of his like tics or anything that he would do like habitually, and he started to do them as himself. Out of the movie, you'd see him in interviews doing what Elvis used to do.
Right.
And side by clip, you'd show what Elvis and him would do together. There's like some things don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
Or with that, what's the guy who played, I know his name, he played Batman. He also played in that, like
Heath.
American Horror Story. No, not Heath. He's dead, the other one.
Well, yeah, but that's also an interesting example, right? Because apparently he went into the role of the Joker as well, and he developed some
Psychopathy.
some issues from that movie because that was a dark role, and he really got into it. And that had an effect on him. So I actually was talking about him. But you mean the latest Joker movie then?
No, I don't mean Joker. I mean Batman.
Oh, Batman.
The
I don't
guy
know his
who
name.
played in that movie with the serial killer. He was also a serial killer. It was like American something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait, I know. I think his name is Christian something.
Could be.
Wait.
I don't know many people's names.
But he's famous. Christian Bale.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that name. He's a Superman guy too, right?
No,
Oh, okay. Okay.
him. Christian Bale. Like there was interviews because he did this one of his like movie of a serial killer, where like at the end of the movie it's like I've like watched a whole bunch of like serial killer detective stuff like for years, so it's a common for serial killers, specific types of them, to unravel.
Mhm.
Like they start to become less organized and they start making mistakes and they get caught, or most of the time it ends up in death because they start going insane and losing their own like mental patterns and efficiency.
Mhm.
So they start to kind of go insane. And so he was playing a role in a movie where that happened to his character, and he kind of went insane at the end. And I don't know if the character ended up dying or killing himself or just getting arrested, or if he ever got arrested. I can't quite remember the end of it.
Right.
But there was an interview with him where they were asking about the effect of playing such a role, because the movie was really, well, according to the interviewer, really messed up. and he said something like is it hard for the roles, like for you to separate yourself from the roles, and he said something like, do they ever really leave you? And then like there's a lot of TikToks made off of that, but I thought that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That like, well, for me at least, I think that if you act a certain way for so long, there's going to be some...
Yes, an effect of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that that occurs. I think what I meant when I gave my answer was that I don't think you become somebody else. I think you can take on many characteristics, and you can also change your characteristics, whether that be for the good or for the bad. And that's basically with enough discipline, right? Like if you're an actor, you are consciously trying to make changes,
Yeah.
right? And then because of these constant efforts, our brains are hardwired to make life easier. So, for example, we like to habituate things. That's very important from a survival perspective, right? Because otherwise you'd have to learn how to walk every day. And that would suck. You'd never survive.
Yeah.
So we habituate the motor patterns in our brain to be able to learn how to walk. And you see the same thing if you're learning to play an instrument, or you're learning to type, or any skill, right? So the more you do something, it becomes easier and easier to do, right? And then when you start something new, in the beginning it's harder, but the more you do it, it becomes easier and easier. So this is basically neuroplasticity. And so when you make, so the common phrase there is nerves that fire together wire together. And I used physical examples there, but it occurs mentally as well, right? If you, every time you see, somebody wears a green shirt, you punch them in the nose, right? Maybe you don't punch them in the nose, maybe you get angry, right? Maybe it's because of something that happened in the past, some type of trauma. It doesn't mean that now forever you are going to get angry when you see somebody with a green shirt. Now, that might happen. You might forever get angry because you didn't put any effort into actually changing it. But if you go through different, I'll just say put in cognitive effort to change that without getting into the process of how to do that. But it could be something like before you punch a person in the nose, you count to 10, or you take 10 deep breaths. What's going to happen is some of that anger will dissipate, and now out of 10 people that you see, you don't punch 10 of them anymore. Now you punch 7 of them, and eventually you'll punch 4 of them, and eventually you won't punch anybody because you're cognitively making that effort to not do it. And then you're still going to have the anger, but gradually you teach yourself now a new thing. You see a green shirt and you decide, okay, I'm going to think of a rainbow. That's what you think about rainbow every time you try to think about the rainbow every time you see a green shirt. It's like, well, now you can. These are stupid examples, but my point is that you can cognitively put in the effort and with steps, and you do it enough time, you habituate new habits, and if you have a habit long enough, that becomes your character, right? But who you are is not different, but you've changed your characteristics. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? It's kind of like now you can play a song really good on the piano, right? When you started, you were doing like this, and then eventually it's this, and then eventually it's this. So now you've become a piano player, even though you weren't in the beginning, but you are still the same person. So I think I mean that emotionally as well. That's my thought. I think you are you, and you will always be you. You might change in the sense of your characteristics, but you're not going to be a different being, a different spirit, different. Right? You're you. That's my thought, and I do stick to it.
I have
You got
ideas
more?
on that.
Yeah, bring it up. Bring it in. Boy, say hi to the camera. You hear somebody out in the hallway. Hey, say hi. Hey,
Okay, this one is a bit different.
all right.
Do you think that your younger self would be proud of who you are now?
How young?
15.
15?
My age.
In some ways yes, in some ways no.
What ways?
In which ways yes, and which ways no?
Mm.
In some ways yes. Now let's start with the no's. I mean, I had some dreams that I would have liked to have done that were dreams, and I didn't pursue them. Like, I really wanted to give a crack at going to the Olympics for track, for 400 meters, and also for rowing. Now, doing both would not have happened, but one of them, and I didn't really pursue that. That's something that I think, I'm not saying, it's sad knowing that there was something on the table that you wanted to do and you didn't really try to fulfill it. In that way, I would say no. There are some qualities that I had when I was 15 that I still struggle with now. So I would also say in this, my old self would also be a little disappointed in. For example, I've always struggled with self-esteem issues, self-confidence and things like that. I mean, if I had that at 15, why have I not overcome that yet? I've had a lot of years to work on that. What could I have done better to have improved that? Because I think that's something that holds me back in many ways now. So I think that would be an issue. There's probably a whole bunch of other things too. In ways, yes. So here's the thing, right? Like, here we are. I'm 48 now. I'm sitting here chatting with you. A teenage girl. I will do the same thing with Kyla. I've done it plenty of times with Kobe. I think that's something I would have been my 15-year-old self would be proud of. To be able to sit down and have a conversation with you like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I absolutely, love and respect my parents, and they're my heroes. But although we never did things like this, this technology wasn't really there when I was younger. The idea of just sitting down and having conversations like this would have never, ever, ever crossed my mind. It's not something that I would have ever done with my parents. And so I love that we can do that. And that's awesome. I think it's weird for me being a parent because on one hand, I mean, I always grew up sort of thinking that parents are in a position of authority and what they say is right. And so now, me being a parent, with the idea of thinking that I'm right in anything, I still think of myself as that kid again, where I'm just a kid, I'm not right. So our relationship, I think, has come into more of a, when you were younger, it's different. When you're younger, it's like, no, I'm right. But as you guys get older, you're in your teenage years now, I think you would agree with me that I'm much more willing to hear your ideas and your opinions and take all of your thoughts into account. And in some things, allow for sort of, we'll say, group decisions. And I like that. That does suit my personality more, but also I also agree with it more. I think it's the right thing is to counsel with you and talk with you, as opposed to telling you how things need to be done. More guiding you and influencing you rather than telling you. That to me makes the most sense, and it feels more right. And so I'm glad I do it this way. I know other parents might disagree. I do know that. And I also know that sometimes decisions would be better made if the parent just said, this is how it is. But one of the many reasons why I don't do it that way, or I could even say I disagree with it, is because I think you are learning more. And I think you will be much better prepared when you eventually leave home to be able to be a more functioning and contributing member of society, because you've already learned so many lessons, because you've already gone through the process of talking and discussing and counseling to fill your role in society. Does that sort of make sense?
Mm.
That's what I think. What do you think? It was your question for me, so it's not really weird. It's kind of weird for me to ask you, what do you think? But
About what you said.
yeah. Okay, I mean, because you asked me the question. So how about that? Why don't you tell me, what about me are you proud of, and what about me are you disappointed in?
Of how you turned out.
Sure, as a father,
I'm.
I mean, it doesn't have to be, this is what I'm disappointed in you, Dad. It could be phrased more like, what do you think, what can I give you as a father that I haven't been doing as well of a job at doing? What can I do better to help you?
I think that I'm proud of you for letting us discuss things and giving leniency when it's needed. For allowing us to pursue passions, even if it takes up a lot of time. Allowing us to pursue sports and to really give a shot at what you want to do. Like supporting Kobe with music. Because that's what he wants to do with his life. And a lot of parents, I think, would be like, no, like you have to go through school, and you're supporting him with his dream. And you're making it feel more realistic, which probably will make it turn out more realistic. Otherwise, if you're not supporting and saying you can't do it, versus supporting him and saying that you can and you will, instead of him making it feel like it's a pipe dream. I think I'm proud of you for...
Am I supporting you?
Yeah, but I haven't really...
Well enough?
In general aspect?
Well, is there any areas that I'm not supporting you in that you would feel that I could support you more in? It's a harder question to answer, right? Because for example, you're not currently, other than going for rides in the forest, you're not currently like competing. You don't have in riding and things like that. Until you find a half pension with a horse, it's going to be hard to do that. But that as an example. But I guess I sort of mean in general. But if there's specific areas where you feel that you would like more support, well, then let me know.
Well, I don't have an issue with telling you.
I
I don't have.
I know you don't have an issue telling me.
See, I don't know, what I could say say, because I think generally you're very supportive and willing to understand, even if sometimes I know that you don't. But you're willing to like be understanding, even if you don't fully comprehend. Hi, Kyla.
Hey guys.
Okay. We're talking about. Well, first she asked me, would my younger self be proud of who I am today?
Mm.
And so I gave my answer as far as the ways in which my younger self would be proud of who I am today, and a little bit about how my younger self would not be proud of who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've asked Chloe, in what ways is she proud of me, and in what ways is she not so proud of me?
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's where we're at.
Very nice.
You can give your answer in a minute when Chloe's done.
Always that I'm not proud of you, or things that you should work on. Not specific to me. I think not for my own personal benefit, but I think, well, not that I want you to be more, but I think I would, like, I think you would be happier if you were more comfortable in social situations, or you were more easily able to, I'm not disappointed you in this, but for you for not being able to be as like socially comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in various situations. But sometimes I think it's not sad, but I kind of feel for you, because I know what it's like not to be comfortable in such situations.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting growing up and seeing your parents as humans instead of just parents, because it's a completely different way of looking at them. And it was kind of a little bit educational to like step back and see the barriers that your parents have and see how that relates onto you. I wish for your own benefit that you could be more comfortable.
Have you noticed situations where I've been very uncomfortable socially? Or is it just mostly from me telling you?
There's been like some from you telling me, but like there's been a lot from you telling me, but like when we're hanging out with all of Mum's family, I see you kind of sometimes just like.
That's different. Yeah, that's very different though.
I think like when you're with your people, like I think that's good.
Canadians.
I feel well. Okay, yeah. I mean, so yeah, I can get quite uncomfortable socially, and that's probably the self-esteem issue coming back again.
But something that I am proud of is that over the years, the more that I've tried kind of observed, the more that I've seen you settle into yourself and like settle around groups of people. Like you're more comfortable. Like when you're playing sports, so you've made a lot of like hockey friends and stuff like that, and you're much more confident in your work because you're a good doctor, so you're much more comfortable in that area. And I enjoy seeing you there because you're good at what you do, and you know you're good at what you do, and it shows.
What allows it? It's a domain in which I feel more comfortable because I've worked at it so hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, with sports and with that yeah, I do feel more comfortable. And even things like, for example, going and playing paddleball with those guys yesterday. You know, it was first time I've ever played that sport, but and I've played it a lot. I could actually fit in quite easily just because there's like that transfer. So I feel comfortable with that. Did you notice a difference last summer when we were back home?
You're much more social in Canada.
Yeah. I noticed that.
I think also because of the languages. Everyone speaks English there.
It's also probably the culture.
Yes.
I felt a lot more comfortable. Like when we were hanging out with Kimmer and Darren and with Ruby Ann and Scott. And also just chatting with everybody in the stores.
Yeah, about that. That was like, that was a very big culture shock for me because I've never done that before.
It's probably a shock for you on two fronts, right?
On two fronts.
Right, one being seeing people being so talkative in the stores,
Yeah.
and then me participating in that.
Yeah, like it was cool because like for for example, one time we went to, me and my dad, we'd gone and we just got we picked up some stuff from the grocery store. And he said, do you want to go to the cashier or do you want to go to the self-checkout? And I said self-checkout because I don't want to talk to anyone. And then we got to the self-checkout and there's this lady there and she was a worker, Miranda. And she loved to chat.
Yeah, she found them.
She found us anyway and talked to us anyway. And then I first of all I thought that was weird. And then you were like having full like conversation with her and like I don't know, I'd never seen you so easily interact with a stranger like that before. But I guess it's just different in Canada because there are more, because you're raised there, you have their mannerisms, their like how they are. Mm-hmm. And you have that. So I feel like when you go back to Canada and you're around the people that are like you socially like that.
Also, I can more easily speak English fluently.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
I think it's like something relatively difficult for me when we're going to Canada culturally shock-wise. I think it was like, I didn't know in what ways I was going to be perceived as rude. If it was like I walked into a store, I was with Dad, we were looking for girth for my saddle, which we never found. And we walked into this tack store, and some lady at the front desk, she goes, oh, hello, I said hi, and I kept walking, because I'm in the store. I don't know, I don't say like hi to the cashier, you just walk in, you do your shopping, and you leave. And she goes, oh, hi, and I was like, hi, and I left. And then I saw in the corner of my eye, like, her look at her friend and go like that. And then, like, and I was like, damn it, was that rude?
Yeah.
And then
they would have thought that was rude.
Yeah, and then I was like, I bought new boots that day and I was trying on the boots. And, like, them trying to have a conversation with me, it was very strange. And I didn't know, like, what I was supposed to say to them. Yeah. Because, like, I don't know what you want from me. So
yeah, because it's not. It's so different here, right? Like,
like,
if somebody said hello to you, you'd probably think like, what? Like that just doesn't happen.
Sometimes I'll walk down the street and I'll like go like nod, hi, say like smile, whatever. But like, for you to start a conversation with me.
Yeah.
See, I also had that where I went to a mall with one of my friends and my sister, sorry. And we went into Sephora and we were looking at makeup and stuff. And this worker came up to her and she's like, hey, how can I help you? And like, that's not that crazy. But then there was like a second one that came. And the only time here that anyone has ever gone up to us like that is because they think we're stealing.
Yeah, facts.
Or if we're like
we get followed on stories because they think that we're stealing, which is fair because like, but like... But like they're following us around because they think that we're stealing, and I think it's like so funny because I'm just like just sitting here look at them too and think you're waiting for something.
I'm remembering that lady that you guys met at the bookstore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, kind of choked.
This is back in Cambridge.
Okay. I love this story. I think it's so fun. So me and Chloe went into a library because we wanted to read a bit, and
bookstore.
Same thing. No. And we wanted to buy books, whatever, potato, and we wanted to buy books, and then we were just reading in the store, and then this old lady came up behind us, and she tapped me on the shoulder, and I was chewing gum, and that but it was weird because you'll never find a stranger that would ever tap you on the shoulder or like talk to you unless they're telling you to get out of the way and move.
Yeah.
That's in Luxembourg.
Yeah. And she tapped me on the shoulder, and I started choking on my gum because I was like, someone startled and touched me.
Me and Kyla are sitting, I'm sitting like this, Kyla's sitting there, we're both like sitting at a table reading. This old lady comes up to us and she taps Kyla, tells her around, she goes, I just start choking. But like, the worst part is that she was like a really old lady and she had a mask on. And I was like, maybe she thought I had like COVID or something, and it just made me sad because I was like, oh no, she probably wants to get away from us. She started violently choking, and this old lady was just
she's like, it's okay, let it out. But she tapped us on the shoulder and she said, but only because she wanted to chat. Yeah. Like there was no other reason, and it was. I actually kind of like that. I mean, I wouldn't want that on a daily basis, but I kind of liked it, and I know a lot about her life. Apparently, she also went to Luxembourg for a bit, but she mostly went to Germany, and she was studying like engineering. I know so much about her life. I know so much. And she was such a sweet lady, and she hugged us goodbye and everything.
And I felt like bad for her. Not bad because like she's able to do that with people in Canada, but from what I like remember, she didn't have anyone. Like she never had any kids or married or anything.
Yeah, she said that she would.
And her siblings, so like she was alone. But I think that it's like nice that she was able to just talk to people.
Yeah, she told us that she doesn't have anyone to talk to at her house, obviously, because she doesn't live with anyone like that type of stuff, and so she'd go out in public and have her social interactions there and talk to people there. And I thought it was interesting. I mean, she only saw the back of my head, but I was wondering, because I've been told I have a resting angry face, and or like not approachable, as no one wants to talk to me because I just get angry all the time. But I'm surprised that she came up and talked to me about people.
Well, you were turned away. So
That's also a part of it. That's also a part of it. But I was also reading, so I don't know.
I wonder how many people just generally that you pass on the street or anywhere, just want and need somebody to talk to, but they don't have anybody to talk to, and so they're walking, and they look unapproachable. I'm not saying that you're unapproachable, Kyla. I'm saying that maybe they look unapproachable because they're sad.
Mm-hmm.
Or even because they're angry, the cards they've been dealt in life, and how important that could be to them to just speak to somebody. But at the same time, you don't want to be that person who's like potentially rude, potentially overstepping a boundary by going and speaking to them. I don't know. How do you manage that? How do you manage that? What you could do, how you could help, how you could interact with people in a positive way. Balancing that with, it's scary to just speak to somebody. It's scary to, it's hard to do it. And maybe they're not receptive, but at the same time, maybe there's somebody who needs it and wants it. And they're just waiting for that one person who will speak. I don't know. It's kind of...
Did you just hear a cat?
Mm-hmm. I think it was a kid.
Yeah, I think it was a kid.
It was a cat.
I don't know. There's a lot of... There's not enough love in the world. I think everybody needs love. To love and be loved. And I think kind of like when you have love for people, whether it's just for your sibling, for your parent, for your kids, whatever, then I think that also allows you to express more love. And when you don't have any, it's hard to express any. Kind of like a dog. Happy to see you, but happy to see everybody. Maybe not everybody, sometimes everybody, but you know what I mean? Like there's no, it's almost like a positive feedback loop where a bit of love initiates more and more and more. And you see some of those people who are just so happy to see everybody, and everybody wants to talk to them, everybody wants to be around them, because they just exude this energy. And other people don't have it, but they just need maybe a kickstart in the right direction. Of course, if they're open to it.
The pie's done, guys.
I can't wait to try. But that makes me think, though, too. There's. I think it's from Dostoevsky. I think you'll see it in that book eventually. I think it's in the book that you're reading in. No, you're reading Masters for Meaning. You're reading Frankel, but he quoted Dostoevsky.
Yes, he did.
So it's in the Gulag Archipelago, I believe, where
Hey, baby boy.
Good.
He's so sad.
Where basically, I think I might have the idea, I might have the person wrong, but that doesn't matter. The idea is that we are responsible for everyone, right? As opposed to the version in the Bible where Cain says, "I'm not my brother's keeper." It's like, you are your brother's keeper, and you are everybody's keeper. You're not just responsible for you. You're not just responsible for this person or that person. We are responsible for everyone. And that's hard to swallow, that idea. You are responsible for the happiness of everyone. Now, everyone also has their own choice in life, right? So you can't make somebody happy. But you can definitely try to add to it. You can definitely try to influence them in a positive direction. Remember that quote that we had up there before we erased it and put a start at the new quotes? It was that one of, it was by John Maxwell. It was something like, if you see somebody as broken, you'll try to fix them. If you see them as hurt, you'll try to heal them. But if you see them as something else, then you'll try to serve them. And I guess that's sort of the point, is that we should be looking at everyone as someone that we can serve. It's like, okay, so how do you do that? And how does that change from person to person and from moment to moment? Sometimes serving somebody is just smiling at them. Sometimes it's helping the little old lady with the groceries. Remember that guy when we were at the grocery store, like Christmas Eve or something? And I asked you guys to take our groceries so I could help him with his groceries.
Yeah.
And then we ended up taking him up the bus to the bus stop. And then we ended up driving him home.
Yeah, we saw him at the cashier, and he had completely no idea what he was doing. So
Yeah, he was off, eh?
we took him and this man, he was like 80 something. So we took him. So you bought his groceries, up to the bus stop where you were, and then we were driving out of the parking lot, and we were just talking. He seemed very disheveled.
Yeah,
So
it just, something didn't make sense,
up
and then
to
I think
him
he didn't
and you
know.
were like, do you know where you're going, what bus you're going on?
Yeah.
And essentially he was like, no, I'm going home, but he didn't know how to get
Yeah,
home.
he didn't know what bus number. He didn't know anything, so we stuck him in the truck, and we we eventually got him home.
Started telling us we'd be like, is this your village? And he'd be like, yes, and it wasn't. Or he'd say this was his street name, but it wasn't. And eventually I had no idea how.
Yeah, but anyways, we finally got the right place, and we got the right place because we know that because it was in there was a worker person that would come and check on him, and so anyways when we got there, as far as they were concerned, he was lost, and I think they had called the police, or they're just about to call the police, because he was lost.
Yeah, we saw the car in the driveway. What's it called?
Yeah, the Hell of Dohim.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like, let's give that a try. We pulled into the driveway, and immediately out came the lady, and was there. Looking for him. I was like, is he with you?
Yeah, but it's like.
It's where would that guy have ended up if we didn't?
And how much better do you think that made? Not just for him, but how much do you think it was better for us that we did that? If for no other reason, I think it was important because I think we benefited. I don't mean for no other reason, because most importantly is that he benefited because he got home, right? But I mean, it's important to us as well. And I don't know how it's important to us. Is there an end result that's measurable, perceivable? I don't even know. But I know that we felt good for having done something good. And I think we might have felt bad if we didn't do it. And let's say if we didn't do it, then who else would have? And if we didn't do it, could something of bad have happened to him?
It was cold.
And therefore, could we have prevented it? right? Like it's, yeah. That happened to me one other time. I remember at the Esso station, I was kind of pulling out of the Esso station. It was dark, it was snowing one night, and this lady waved at me. Like, she was a little old lady. She must have been she would have been in her 80s, I think. And I remember her name was Margaret. I remember that because my mom's name is Margaret. And she waved, and I think she just thought I was somebody else. Maybe the car looked the same, I don't know. And so I waved back, and she was sort of looking at me like, you know, and so as I was driving towards her, because I had to go by the bus stop that she was at, you know, she was just looking at me like she was ready to talk. So I was just coming out. So I put the window down, and she's like, "Oh, hi, are you my ride?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, I am." I think I can be, something like that. And I want to say it was even something like the buses weren't even running. I had read something that the buses had stopped because of all the snow. And so she's at the bus stop, and there was no bus coming. Right? And so I ended up driving her home. She was living in Senningberg. And
So just there.
so it was, yeah, but it was kind of like, you know, like it wouldn't have been easy for her to get home. Especially not without a bus, and especially considering all the snow, and she wasn't very mobile. And that was just one of those things. It's just like, all right, let's get her home. Just got her home, took her up the stairs, which were icy as well. Like, she had a long staircase going up to her front door, and it was icy. So it's like, even if she did get home, she needed help up those stairs. Yeah. So that was kind of cool too. I always remember one time I remember I was in Saginaw, Michigan, with a bunch of us. We were coaching for this Canamera thing, and we were coaching the track team. And I was with Coach K, Carl Gardner. And we pulled into this place just to grab, I don't know, like a few things of water or something. I don't know what it was. And as we were going in, this lady came out with her groceries, elderly lady, and Carl, without hesitating, just grabbed her groceries for her, started talking to her like they'd known each other forever, and takes her groceries to her car for her. And I remember she gets into her car, he shuts the door for her. You have a great day. It's a pleasure meeting you. I just thought, damn, what a nice guy. And so I've always, I remember that now. So it's one of those things where I remember that. And it also reminds me of Cameron one time going to Delhaize in Bertrange. He did the same thing. There was this homeless guy. And as soon as we got to the car, we put the groceries in the back of the car. Cameron immediately goes in, takes a few things. We were just chatting. As we're chatting, he's taking a few things out of our bags. And then he goes into his own wallet, grabs some of his own money, and he takes it all over to the homeless guy. And I just thought, I'm proud of that kid. Proud of that kid. And he would have been like 11 or 12 years old at the time. I don't know how we got onto that. I think that's a tangent, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I haven't ever really done anything like that. Like, there's the helping people with your groceries a few times. It's like somebody drops something, you pick it up for them. But or giving money to the homeless people. But maybe because it's a bit different. Like, being alone and helping somebody else. Mm-hmm. Like, if I saw a little old lady, if I saw old man, I think I'd be less inclined to help them for my own safety reasons.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and unfortunately that is something that you have to think about too.
Yeah. But there is some people that just need help and don't get it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes without recognizing, you can, or while being able to recognize that you are, but in a way that that lady wouldn't have been able to get up those stairs by herself. She needed the help, and nobody else was going to. That was something that you didn't know when you started it. Right. What if you didn't roll down your window?
Yeah.
Then she probably, or she might have made
It would have been very easy to just say, I don't know who that person is, and keep on going.
Yeah.
And then the question would have been, how long would she have stayed there in the cold and the snow before somebody helped her out? Or maybe she decided to walk home and she slips and falls, breaks a hip or something. Like, you don't know what might have happened. Maybe somebody else 5 minutes later would have picked her up. Who knows? And taken her home. But, yeah. Yeah, when your mom and I were first married, when we were going for drives, we were going up into the mountains. And it happened a bunch of times where we came across a female hitchhiker. And we would always pick her up. Because our first bit of conversation was, we know we're good people, we know we're not gonna hurt her, like the hitchhiker. We don't know about the next person who might pick her up. So we're gonna pick her up to make sure that she's safe.
Yeah.
Things like that.
But then, like, if it's a male hitchhiker, it's a different...
That's a different story, right? And unfortunately, that is a different story. And I've been a male hitchhiker. But, I've not been a female hitchhiker. I've only been a male hitchhiker, just so we're clear on that. But yeah, no, but it is something that you have to think about. Like, if you two were driving and you picked up a male hitchhiker, that would, even if like everything turns out well, fine.
It's not something I would do.
You're darn right. I would lay into you for having done it.
Yeah.
Right, because I want your safety to be thought of first.
But also, even as a guy driving and picking up a male hitchhiker...
That's still a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are a bunch of, like, serial killers that, one, would pick up hitchhikers, and two, were the hitchhikers.
Yeah.
So, generally, scenario you stay away from, in my opinion.
Well, on the male end of that.
I think, like, as you said before, if you see a female hitchhiker, if you know you're a good person, you're going to want to be the one to pick them up because you don't know who would next.
Yeah. But then, maybe that person we picked up was a serial killer themselves. You never know.
Yeah, but...
Yeah. But anyways, we gotta do the best we can. Help each other out as best we can. And sometimes that also just means being more chatty.
Yeah.
Being more smiley. Pitter patter.
It's good.
Yeah. That's an hour. Should we leave it at that? Any other things that you want to talk about now? Now. We can do more. We can do another hour if you want.
I remember maybe when I was 13 or, yeah, probably 13. Like, I added a bunch of people on Snapchat, but I never messaged any of them. Or, like, if they messaged me, I'd be like, you're weird, but and I'd, like, remove them so I didn't have to talk to them. And so, but at this point, I had, like, basically removed everyone but a few people. And most of the people was people that I knew but weren't friends with. Like, just knowing, except for this one guy. Let's call him Jay. And never messaged Jay in the beginning. But I saw in his story, because you can post stories on Snapchat, really bunch of concerning things.
I think you told me about this guy.
Yeah, like mental health wise, very concerning. And I thought to myself, after the second day of seeing new stuff, okay, if he does something, like post something again, then I'll message him and ask him if he's okay. And I did, because lo and behold, another day passed and he posted again. So I messaged him, and he really wasn't. So, but like, he needed a lot of help, and he just wasn't getting it. And he didn't have any friends, he didn't have any support system, and I just felt so bad for him. And it progressed past, like, and it turned out that I did know him. I hadn't met him before, but we had mutual friends. Like, his friend dated one of my friends. And so it progressed further through, like, we would I would message him, like, ask him how he was, how his day was, every day, because he was just so sad and he had no one. And nobody except for me was there. And then he got this like one girlfriend who then saw that he was messaging me and saw it as a guy messaging a girl, and was just like, you have to block her or something, because like I don't like that. But so then we stopped talking for a while. Then he added me back one night, and he's like, I'm so sorry for like not saying anything. I had always assumed that something bad had happened to him, because sometimes if you delete your account, it just shows as someone blocking you.
Right.
So I thought something had happened. He was like, no, I'm sorry, like, it was my ex-girlfriend at the time. Then he went through a really rough patch again. And then he was like, yeah, I'll never like unadd you. Or if I do, for like any particular reason, I'll tell you before. And then it happened again. He was so unlucky with girls. This other girlfriend that he had a couple months later was also like, you shouldn't have her on your phone. So he said, it was like, my girlfriend's uncomfortable. I said, that's okay, but still, if you ever need to talk to someone, or if you ever still feel bad, you can always talk to me, because I'm always here to listen regardless of your girlfriend. Not like in a bad way, but like, if you can't talk to her, you can talk to me, because I'm here and I've been here for months. And then after things ended with her, like we'd message again, but on like a different platform. And slowly, I think for the first time in 9 months, he said, I asked him how his day was, and he said he had a good day. And maybe 3 days, and then it was bad again, but it was like, kind of made me happy seeing that sometimes, very rarely, like after 9 months, he was able to say I had a good day. And not like something amazing happened, but he was just okay with existing.
Yeah.
And then we eventually stopped talking. He stopped kind of responding to my message. He'd respond every 2 messages. And then one day he was gone. Snapchat unadded me. And then I sent him 4 more messages, and he never responded. And then one day during summer, I always told him, during summer I'm usually up until like 2 a.m. Because I still would wake up at 9 every day, then go work and out, and then I'd go out with my friends later, so I was still waking up relatively early. So I said, I'll be up until around then, so if you ever need anything, or like you ever really need to talk, or like you're having an issue, because it was frequent that he'd have like panic attacks or something. So I was like, I'm up until 2-ish. And one night I went to bed, maybe like 11-ish, because I was really tired that day. And I wake up to him having added me back, but because he was the one that unadded me, he could add me back without me having to accept it again, with a missed call from him at like 2 or 3 a.m. And I call him back, no answer. Message him, hey, are you okay? Like, because we'd only call if it was like, if he was really feeling bad. And I was like, hey, are you okay? Like, did something happen? And never again. Not any other platform. Eventually, his account disappeared, probably logged off. And I've had 0 confirmation, but in my head, he did something that night. He always said he was too afraid to end it, but I didn't know how he had been the few months before that, because it was less and less contact. So in my head, or at least from my own knowledge of the him never messaging me back after a time, your account disappearing, because Snapchat added this new feature with you just sign out of your account and you don't use it, it'll delete it, because so many people just had so many accounts and never used them. So I always assumed that he had ended it that night. And in my head, I've had no confirmation that he hasn't, or that he has, but I think that he did. And part of me wants to, feel bad for not being awake or not having my social media on or something, not getting that message or picking up the call, because I don't know if things ended differently for him or if things ended for him at all. But I also recognize that like I had no way of knowing I was asleep, and I can't blame myself for that. But it was, I think, just the way that it started, because I know, and we had talked about it between us so many times, like how one message, like how that changed so much for him over the long course, because he finally had a friend.
Right.
Even if like we never really met up or anything.
Do you not know anybody in like common?
No, I stopped being friends with the girl that and he's.
I was just wondering if there's a way that you could find out.
Because he lived
or what
in Germany, and eventually there was a point where his friend stopped being the mutual friend that like dated my friend, stopped being friends with him, because he said that it was like too annoying dealing with someone who always had these problems, and it was like he'd help him and then they'd be bad again, and he was like, I'm not helping you and it's too hard being friends with you, so he had no friends at all anymore whatsoever. And
what school did you go to?
somewhere in Germany,
Oh.
but like not close to the border.
Right.
So I really don't know, and I don't really have any way of finding out. But I think it was the act of, even if it is over, or if he isn't here anymore, at least I'm glad that I reached out that like the first time, and I'm glad that I was there for him.
Yeah.
Because that matters, and other people, a lot of them don't know that. Like, you really don't know what's going on for a lot of people. And like some people, like especially through social media, lots of people like repost like very worrying or depressing things, and you think sometimes like with enough of it, people do it. It's gonna sound bad, but some people do it for attention without seriously meaning it, and that completely takes away from the people who do mean it, which is very worrying, because lots of people could have seen what he was posting and just been like, yeah, well, lots of people post that without meaning it, but he really did. And it's not just being able to really think and go, does he mean it? Is it a worrying that he's acting this way? Versus just saying lots of people are doing that now without meaning it. It's kind of understanding when you have to reach out anyways, because you don't actually know. And I think I'm glad that I did, but even if I don't know how it ended now.
That's sad. Right. Well, I'm glad that you did that. It's sad to not know.
Yeah.
It's also sad to know that people feel like that.
But I'm really happy that I was there for him when he needed it. It was also a big reason that I wanted my social media on during the summer.
I know, I think we spoke about this actually before.
Yeah.
A couple times.
But I think it's just important.
I'm proud of you. You know, I really am. And I know you, and I also know Kyla and Kobe. And Cameron too, I think. And Luke was like that too. You all have that concern for people. And when push comes to shove, like there's that's a very core characteristic that you all have, is just a desire to do what needs to be done. I'm really proud of you guys for that. Like that makes me, I feel honored, I feel proud, I feel happy. Just that you're such good people. Thank you.
I have a headache. Should
Thank
I
you
drink
for
water?
being here. Yes, you should drink hot water. What do you think?
You want water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of you? Unless
Yeah. Are we? You got more questions? More things?
No, I'm gonna do it. But
Okay, we'll do a wrap for today. We'll go watch a movie. Want to watch a movie? cuddle up on the couch, eat some blueberry pie. All right. Ciao. Good day.
Good day.
All right.